So in this live, we're going to talk about the biggest mindset and energetic shift that you need to make if you want to reach bigger things, to grow your business more, to have a bigger impact, to have more freedom, more success, whatever success means to you. The shift you need to make is not probably the thing that comes to your mind when you think about what is the biggest roadblock that you have to success. Spoiler alert, the number one thing that people tell me, both in my DMs and clients that I work with, when I ask them, what are your goals? What are your biggest roadblocks? Why are you not, seeing the success that you want to make? It, in a lot of cases, comes down not to them not necessarily knowing what to do, but it comes down to them feeling like they don't have time. And they tell me, I just don't really have the time to fully invest in doing whatever the thing is that they want to do. And to that I say, I'm just going to call BS. And I know some of you may not like to hear that, but I'm going to explain why your biggest issue is really not time or even a lack of skill set. It is actually fear. It's actually fear that is holding you back. And what I mean by that is when we think about, the things that you want to do in your business, the way that you want to grow, the visibility or impact that you want to have, it's really driven by your thoughts and your feelings. Like the way that you spend your time is driven by those underlying feelings. And if you spend all your time super busy on client work, or let's say you spend a ton of time creating content and posting on social media or whatever it is, it's your fear that not doing as much of those things is going to cause you to fail. Or on the flip side, it's your fear that trying a different strategy, increasing your prices, putting a new offer, trying a different marketing strategy, whatever it is, you're going to put your time and energy into that thing, and then it's going to fail. And then people are going to reject you. They could absolutely happen. You could try something and it doesn't work. Or you can change the way that you work with clients and somebody could get mad. I've certainly had clients who get mad at me when I bring a team member on and they only want to work with me, right? But that doesn't mean that anything bad is going to happen to you overall, right? I usually find like these things happen. We address it, we adjust, we move on. So it's really thinking through like, well, what is the worst case that happens if I do this thing? What is the worst case if I stop going to this meeting that takes up all of my time? Or if I stop posting on this social media channel that doesn't do anything for me? Like, what's the worst thing that happens? I'm just going to go back to the idea of raising your prices. Let's say you're going to 4x your price that you're used to charging. And the opportunity cost, you could be afraid of doing or not doing it. The fear is if you do it, that everybody's going to tell you no, you get rejected. That fear comes from a scarcity mindset of thinking like, oh my God, if one person rejects me, then everybody's going to reject me. And we just like spiral out of control versus, the fear of not doing it. I mean, when I work through with clients who, let's say they want to raise their prices and, we do it. And the fear is, okay, I've got all these other clients that I need to either raise their prices or I need to let go of because they're not a good fit for where we're going. And the fear there is that they're going to be mad. They're just going to be disappointed in you. And yeah, they might be. But again, like what's the worst thing that could happen? And so you have these fears in your mind that are really the thing that's preventing you from putting the time investment into doing the things that you want to do. I think that there's this other sort of internal-external shift, right? Of viewing things happening to us versus taking the responsibility and saying, I am in charge of what happens. I am in charge of the way that I show up in my life. And I feel like society, culture as a whole, we like to blame external forces, whether it's time or the economy or kids or whatever it is. We like to blame the external things, but really it's not the external work that really matters. It's not the external things. It's how we choose to respond. It's the internal stuff. The reason I'm talking about this is that, as you guys might have seen, I am talking about going high ticket with your offers, implementing a high ticket offer, raising your prices, using that as the strategy to scale your business and to make more money. Doing this, implementing a high ticket offer really does, for a lot of people, bring up a lot of fear about whether you actually have the skill set and the ability to deliver that higher ticket offer at a higher price point and sell that higher ticket offer. So there's so many people who I'm in the DMs with, a lot of my clients, who will say, you know what, I would love to have a high ticket offer. I just don't necessarily feel like I'm actually going to be able to deliver on it. I don't see how it's going to work for my particular business or for me specifically. I don't know what people would pay me for. And honestly, like that right there is what I mean when I say the fear of failure is what is stopping you from making that shift. And I truly believe that implementing a high ticket offer in your business is the best, fastest, easiest way to scale your business up and to be able to pull yourself out of the day-to-day. This is what I did with my business, and it honestly changed my life. Like, I feel very, very strong about it. If you want to get off the hamster wheel of constantly doing client work and social media or whatever it is that you feel like you spend so much time doing, feeling like every day you have to show up, and if you don't show up, you're not going to make money, and instead shift into being the CEO of your business, it starts with your mindset. Because you can have all of the strategy, all of the tactics in the world, but if you don't actually have the mindset behind it, if you don't address the underlying fear that's stopping you from doing that thing, you're never going to implement any of the strategy or tactics. So if you come into anything that I do on the coaching and teaching side, you are going to hear me talk both about the tactics and the strategy and the mindset, because I feel like you can't have success unless you have both. Like, you can have the strategy, but if you don't have the mindset, you're going to fail. And if all you do is the mindset work, but you don't actually have a strategy, you're also going to fail, right? So we need to have both. You're going to hear me talk about this because I just feel like it's so, so important. One of the biggest changes, the biggest shifts, like in an unexpected change that I have seen as I have shifted from, having my done for you service business, Young & Co., which I obviously still have, to shifting from just doing done for you work to coaching and teaching work, like seeing people have this roadblock is one of the things that honestly surprised me the most. Because in the done for you side, we're doing the work for the client, right? Like, we're doing the work, we're helping them implement, we're making sure that they're actually going to do the thing. But when I step into the coaching teaching side, I'm not the one doing the work. I can't sit there and implement it for you. I can give you the frameworks, I can give you the coaching, I can give you the accountability, but I can't make anybody do it. So I'm actually going to give you an example for myself, because I want you to know that I'm not just trying to call other people out and say, this is a you problem. This is an everybody thing. Like, everyone has fear that holds them back from doing something. And so I'm going to give you my most recent example of when I've done this or haven't done the thing. The number one thing that I personally have been delaying or procrastinating out of fear has been pitching for speaking. So honestly, I've probably been procrastinating it for almost a year and a half. And it was really, I think it was last spring, I went on this like mastermindy retreat. Out of that retreat came basically my conviction that I need to do more speaking, more visibility, get myself out in front of more audiences. And one of the things that we do in the High Profit Society as we're setting goals, we set our vision. And I like to say, what are your biggest, most impossible, unreasonable goals that you want for your life? And we want to start saying those things out loud and claiming those. And so one of mine is that eventually I want to write a book or books. And I want them to be the type of book that, when I launch it, I can go and tour places, spread the word to people, that I'm on some of the biggest podcasts promoting the book. And what's the thing that I need? In addition to writing the book, like I want to do more speaking. I want to get in front of bigger audiences. I feel like what I have to say is important and useful. In order for me to do that, my next step really from where I am now to where I want to go is that I need to do more speaking. I need to get myself in front of more people. And I've certainly done it, just not a lot. So last spring, that really came out as like, okay, this needs to be a priority for me. Even this past spring, so a year after the initial revelation, I even hired somebody. I worked with somebody who helped me map out my speaking topics and the pitching and all of it. The last thing I really need to do before I start pitching is create my one sheet. And let me tell you, I have procrastinated updating my one sheet for probably May, June, July. 4 months. I have procrastinated my one sheet. So as I do my planner, I do my plan for the week. I look at what I need to do. I revisit my goals for the quarter that I set in my quarterly planning days. And I say, okay, what are the next steps I need to take to hit these goals? And for that one goal, the next step is the one sheet. And I keep writing it down as I need to focus on this, but I never make it a priority. And the reason is not time. By now, in the last year and a half, I could have made time. There's no excuse that I have that I could not have updated that. The reason I haven't is actually fear. It's fear about pitching myself and putting myself out there and getting rejected. It's the fear that I have of getting up on a stage in front of people and people thinking I don't have anything good to share. People thinking like, who is this chick to be talking about these things? Even though I know these things are not realistic, I just feel like that is really the thing that is holding me back from doing that one really simple thing. That's my sort of behind the curtain of my biggest fear. Maybe not biggest, but one of my biggest things and how it holds me back, right? The question is for you, what is the fear that is holding you back from doing what you want to do? And how do we get past it? Going back to the High Profit Society, I think the mindset work that we do is so important that one of the things I ask them to do is to have a journal or a planner, and anytime they feel any sort of strong emotion, whether it's positive or negative, I ask them just to practice being aware of it first and foremost, because I think a lot of times we have these thoughts going through our head and beliefs that we've never stopped to acknowledge or question before. And if we're not aware that it's even happening, then you're never going to be able to do the work to change it. And really understanding the way that your thoughts impact your feelings and your actions and the results that you get. And it's this like self-perpetuating cycle, basically, that we don't recognize we're in until we actually stop and become aware of it and then begin to reframe that. Also recognizing the like nervous system aspect and the energetic standpoint, which I didn't talk about a ton today. You know, something that I have been practicing more is more like breath work, meditation, going for more walks, getting more outside time in nature. I think building these things into your day is actually super important. So I have my Aura Ring that I really love, and I go through these periods where it will tell me that I'm like top of the top stress level based on, it measures like your heart rate and HRV and all that stuff during the day. And it's, you know, it'll tell me like, you're stressed. And I'm like, well, I'm not doing anything, right? I'm literally just like sitting here. I'm not doing anything. And it's your nervous system, right? We have these both conscious thoughts and unconscious thoughts that impact our body's nervous system and the way that we feel. It's just amazing. I think the body is crazy. What we have to recognize when we think about this is that getting past whatever this like mindset or energetic block you have is not going to be a one and done thing. It's a practice of being aware of what's going on in your head, observing the impact that it has on your life, observing the feelings and sensations that it causes in your body, and seeing, how do I act as a result of that? How do I show up as a result of that? And how am I perpetuating my own negative cycles? The other thing I find that is honestly a little bit frustrating for me is that I will identify, you know, a fear, and I just said mine around actually doing the work to pitch myself for speaking, right? I will work on that and I'll get past it, and then something else comes up. Something else pops up out of your brain, like you fix one thing and then another thing comes up to the surface, and you're like, why am I constantly going through these cycles of just having like mindset issues and fears and just all these negative feelings come up? And it's just how our brains are built. I think growing a business is probably one of the hardest things, if not the hardest things, outside of like giving birth and raising a child, that I've ever had to do. And it forces you to address your fears and your traumas, right? It forces you to address all of these things in your head, because if you want to grow, you have to take on that growth mindset, right? Of addressing them, becoming aware, reframing, doing the work, and moving past it. And it's hard. And so a lot of people don't want to do it. And they keep wanting to say, I just don't have time. I'm too busy. This is not a priority for me right now, except it really is deep inside. You want it to be a priority, and you are just afraid of actually doing the work. But I'm going to also tell you that growing is hard, but staying in the same place is also hard. And declining, I would say, is also really hard. So this is my own personal take, but if I'm going to go through something hard, I might as well get a reward out of it. I might as well grow from it. Basically, to recap, time is not your issue. Being too busy is not your issue. Your issue is fear. Your issue is the mindset work, okay? It's having the mindset work combined with the strategy, combined with the tactics. We really need both to work together in order to have a nice, holistic, well-rounded approach to running a business and growing. So this was fun. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys later.